Let me ask you this. Have you ever had a student throw up their hands and say, I'm just not good at this yet? Maybe you even said it yourself, like the time I tried to build IKEA furniture without the instructions. Spoiler alert, it didn't end really well. But here's the thing. Just because you're not good at something yet doesn't mean that you won't get there, because you will with persistence. I'm going to be talking about 7 specific things that we can help encourage our students with respect to a growth mindset. Welcome to another episode of the Teacher RockStar podcast, the podcast that is dedicated to providing valuable insights, practical tips, and proven strategies to equip new teachers for success. I'm your host, Steve Hiles, retired educator, published author, and instructional coach. Let me ask you this. Have you ever had a student throw up their hands and say, I'm just not good at this yet? Maybe you even said it yourself, like the time I tried to build IKEA furniture without the instructions. Spoiler alert, it didn't end really well. But here's the thing. Just because you're not good at something yet doesn't mean that you won't get there, because you will with persistence. You know, this is the magic of the growth mindset. It's a game changer for both students and teachers. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about encouraging a growth mindset in students. Let me say this. Why is it important? Well, developing a growth mindset in students is more than just academics. It's about preparing them for life. When students learn to see challenges as opportunities to grow, then they become more adaptable, more resilient, and persistent. And let's face it, the real world isn't about getting things right the first time. Sometimes, obviously you're going to make mistakes. And it's about learning from these setbacks and trying again and perhaps again and again. By teaching students these principles, not only will we help them be successful in the schoolhouse, but also in the classroom of life as well. I'm going to be talking about 7 specific things that we can help encourage our students with respect to a growth mindset. Number 1, the basics of a growth mindset. Let's talk about that for a second here. Simply put, it's the belief that our abilities can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. Now, for kids, it's the difference between saying, I'll never get good at spelling, or I'm not great at spelling yet. See, the word yet is a very, very powerful word. Think of it as helping students swap their I can't for I'll try. And honestly, if a 7-year-old can learn to tie their shoes after 100 failed attempts, they're already growth mindset pros. Okay, moving on to the second point I wanted to make here, and that's using stories to teach growth mindset. Now, that's a very, very powerful concept. Kids love stories. Well, everyone loves stories, I do believe. So why not use them to drive this message of a growth mindset home? Take the classic, the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise isn't the fastest, but he wins the race. Why? Because he is persistent and he keeps going. All right. Talk about persistence, or share real life examples like how Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times to perfect and invent the light bulb. You can tell your students, imagine if Edison gave up, what would happen then? We'd all still be sitting in the dark doing math homework by candlelight. Okay. So very important thing there, telling stories. Moving on to the third point I want to make here is the power of yet. Now, here's a fun classroom activity. Create a power of yet wall. I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out here. Whenever a student says, I can't do this, encourage them to add the word yet at the end of that sentence. Okay, for example, if a student struggles with multiplication, have them write, I can't do my times tables yet. And over time, they'll move that statement to a now I can board where they've actually mastered it. It's a small change, but it flips the script from frustration to possibility. Are you a teacher who finds yourself drowning in the challenges of classroom management? Do student behaviors leave you feeling overwhelmed and drained at the end of each day? Picture this, a classroom where your students are not just present, but fully engaged, focused, and eager to learn. Say goodbye to classroom management stress and hello to success. The Teacher RockStar Academy course is meticulously designed to equip you with the tools and strategies needed to skyrocket your effectiveness as a teacher. Curious to know if the Teacher RockStar Academy course is the missing piece in your teaching journey? If you're ready to reclaim control of your classroom and witness the incredible impact on your students, then use the link in the podcast description to learn more about this program. Point 4, celebrating mistakes. I mean, we're all going to make mistakes. For many kids, mistakes feel like it's the end of the world. But here's the truth. Mistakes are proof that they're trying. I used to tell my kids, if you're not making mistakes, then you're not really learning anything new. All right. Turn mistakes into celebration. For instance, have a whoops of the week moment where you share funny or interesting mistakes, yours included, and discuss what you learned from them. Trust me, kids love it when you admit you accidentally spilled coffee on your lesson plans. Again. All right, moving on to point 5, praise the process, not just the result. Here's a common trap here, praising students only when they get the right answer. But how about not praising them when they've actually kind of worked through the process of how to arrive at that answer or the work that they've done, even if the answer may not be correct. Okay. If little Alex, for example, finally solves a tricky puzzle, highlight how they kept trying different approaches to finally complete that puzzle. Say something like, wow, I love how you didn't give up and tried 3 different ways to figure it out. You're going to find it's going to pay big dividends. Okay. This teaches them that effort, not just natural talent alone, is what leads to success. Okay, point 6, fun activities to reinforce growth mindset. Yeah, okay, if you're looking for some hands-on activities, try growth mindset bingo, for example. Create a bingo card with actions like helped a friend, tried something new, or learned from a mistake. When students check off their squares, they'll see how much they've accomplished through effort and persistence. Another idea? Have students draw a learning ladder where they write down the small steps that they're taking towards mastering a specific skill. And last but not certainly least, I should say, is point number 7, and that is modeling a growth mindset as a teacher. Here's a little secret. And kids are always watching you. All right. If you model a growth mindset, they're more likely to adopt one themselves. Share your own strategies and how you can overcome them. Maybe it's learning a new teaching app, okay, or figuring out how to survive a field trip with 25 second graders. When you say this is hard, but I'm going to figure out how to do it, you're teaching them you're teaching them resilience by example. All right. So I hope this has been helpful. There you have it, folks. Encouraging a growth mindset in elementary students doesn't have to be complicated. It's about small, consistent efforts, telling stories, celebrating mistakes, praising progress. Remember, it's not just about teaching academics. It's about helping children develop skills that's going to serve them for the rest of their lives. Well, my friend, we have come to the end of this episode. I want to thank you for listening to the Teacher RockStar podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hiles. If you have a topic that you would like me to discuss on the show, please drop it in the comments, shoot me an email. I love to hear from you. We'll see you same time, same place next week. And remember, my friend, you got this.
You've been listening to the Teacher RockStar podcast with your host, Steve Hiles. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast as much as we have. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our ever-growing community of Teacher RockStars. Until then, thanks for listening.